Welcome to another episode of Daddy Confessions. Tonight, I have, an alumni of the podcast, a friend of the podcast, brother of the podcast. My boy Tunde is here yet again.
Yet again.
I
You
can't
can't take
shake
it
you,
away.
and I don't
Yeah,
want to. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
I
You know
ain't
what?
trying
You're
to
right.
shake.
Even if you wanted to, you can,
Right,
man. I was
right,
like,
right.
I would love
Well,
an
you know.
opportunity to be on this, man. I
Well,
really do.
I appreciate you making time in your very busy schedule to be here and chat with me about anything and everything. And we talk offline, we talk online, but we just love to talk. So I appreciate you being here. Today I don't even know if we need to go through the introduction piece again. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to do all of that. Is that my front door or your front door? That might be my front door.
That's your front door.
Somebody's at my front door. Okay. I don't know who is at my house this time of night. Actually, I do know. And I don't know why they ringing the doorbell when they live here. Why is my family ringing the doorbell?
Because they can see you on the ring. You got a ring, probably, right?
But we also, so that's what we're talking about tonight, folks. We are talking about security. Now, we ain't talking about security in your house, okay? We actually talking about security with your kids online. But while I have this forum to talk about security in your house, and we talking about the ring doorbell and everything, yes, we have a ring here at the house. We also have a guard dog, a handgun, a knife, a bat. We got all kinds of security items at my house. But what we also have is the kids have their thumbprint for the door. And I got it set. They can only do certain times a day. They can't.
But still, yeah. You are purposely giving Big Brother all your information. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It ain't connected to nothing. It ain't connected
to that. You sure about that?
Big Brother got all the information. Okay.
Yeah, but y'all willingly giving it away.
Trey already getting mail to the house. Somebody trying to get him a credit card, and I checked. They don't, his name ain't out. He ain't got no actual credit going nowhere. But
okay.
But anyway, as we talk about Big Brother and how much connection he has to us as individuals, what we want to talk tonight about is actually how do we keep our kids safe online, and not just online on the computer or the phone or the tablet, but on video games as well, right? Like, how do we keep them safe in those areas that are so very much connected to them in everything that they do? I mean, they gotta, my kids, I don't know about your kids, but they have to, once my son got into third grade, they started wanting him to go onto these different websites to do activities, Seesaw and these different websites to just do reading projects, things like that, like online. Are you guys seeing that at your kids' school as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge in the sense that like have to they have to be online, right? It's like they do their work electronically. There's no more, think about penmanship and writing essays out and drafts. Like that doesn't exist anymore. So yeah, they have definitely opened up that world to the kids. And I think the part that was nerve-wracking is because there wasn't any type of preparation for it, especially with COVID. I felt like they just threw them kids in there, and there really wasn't any guardrails either set by the schools, just because again, we were all just trying to figure out at the height of pandemic, and also just the parents, right? Because think about, the fact that all of a sudden your kids are 100% remote, and that idea is crazy, right? And the teachers were so overwhelmed. Half the time it was just them giving out materials, and then we had to teach our kids. And then we were also just dealing with the madness of working remotely and still trying to keep up our job. So my kids were exposed to the internet early because of work, but then once work was done, we started finding them surfing the web. I mean, and the idea of just all that abundance of information, readily available to your children, Whether intentionally or unintentionally is the part that's always scared me. I mean, you can think about it, any type of keyword that you enter on Google could take you down a rabbit hole that you weren't even prepared for, you know?
Don't type in White House,
Yes, don't type in White.
whitehouse.com. Actually, I don't know if that still works, but it used to be a thing. Don't type in
No, but
whitehouse.com.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's what ended up happening is that like your kids will put in something as innocent as, you know, I mean, whatever, White House or whatever, and then all of a sudden, like, it really gets exposed to other things. So for me, I think coming onto this podcast, really kind of talk about the experiences and challenges as parents on what it is that we can do, and coming in saying that I am not an expert. I'm literally trying to figure out as we go. What I would probably recommend, John, is that like at the end of this, maybe have like a list of like websites or apps that people can like look into or download just to be able to see if they can like really protect themselves because
Cool.
it's hard out here. It's
That's a
hard.
good. That's a good call. And that's something that I will definitely work to put together as it relates to this because I think you're right. I think there's a lot of things that parents should be aware of. Do your kids have email addresses?
Yeah, they
They do.
did, and I didn't even realize that happened. It was again, once you go into these apps, or games, like a lot of times, they would have to get email addresses, and for a long time they would ask for my email address, and I might, give it to them, and then I realized that stopped until one day, like I think they
Hmm.
were my kids were downloading something, and all of a sudden my son's putting on an email address. I'm like, what? How? And it's not just one; he has multiple. He has
Wow.
multiple email addresses to be able to, get access to either games or apps. So yeah, they do. It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah, and that right there in and of itself is because the email address, as we know,
Yeah.
is the key
Right.
to being able to sign up on any of these websites, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of like that first scary step that I mean, they say these things are age restricted. You got to be such and such age, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I mean, you just click the button and go,
I mean,
right?
my son's 18,
Right. I mean,
according to his
according
profile.
to his profile, right? Like it's the
According to his
same thing.
profile.
It's so weird because it's the same thing when you go, like, let's say if you go to like Anheuser-Busch website,
Right.
right? They ask
Yeah.
you how old are you. I
Yeah.
mean, if you can add and
Yeah.
subtract, you can
Yeah.
figure out how to be old enough to get onto the website, right? Like, click yes or no. You know what I'm saying? Like it
Well,
ain't
I mean, plausible deniability is a mother, right? So,
right.
like, that's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
Like, it's like seeing somebody come in, they give you a fake ID. Is this real? Sure. Yes, it is. And then they're like, okay, well, I've
Right.
done my due diligence.
Right.
Move on to
Right.
the next.
Right. And it's crazy that way because that's that first gateway into things. And once they get past that, it becomes a situation of really what do we know as parents?
Right.
Do we know enough to know that things like Reddit, you've heard of Reddit,
Yep.
right? It's a place
Yep.
some people go to get information. They got all these message boards, probably most well known recently for being a place where people go for to like figure out stocks and stuff like that, right? And like they've been using that site to have GameStop
Yeah.
GameStop
GameStop.
stocks
Yep.
go up and down, whatever.
Yeah.
But it is also apparently a place where you can get pornography.
Yeah.
Um, Apparently, Spotify also has people on there who have created playlists that have uh links to pornography.
Hmm.
Like, so to find out, and I mean, this is not necessarily, we're not focused on pornography, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
those are kind of
Exposure.
things, these are places that you would think in some ways are supposed to be benign,
Hmm.
things that kids might find access to. Um, YouTube,
YouTube is,
sure, YouTube, full
YouTube
stop.
is, yeah.
Um, but YouTube Kids apparently also has elements of that as well, like information that is not appropriate for kids, and that's been worrisome for me. Um, and I haven't been keeping them away from it on my end, necessarily, but what I have been doing is limiting the amount of time that they can spend on it.
So, that's interesting because I'm going to ask you a question about like how your approach is, and you kind of answer that in the sense that you're not necessarily keeping away from him. So, my son has somebody in his class who his parents decided that they didn't want their kids or their kid actually using their laptop for homework. Like
Hmm.
they actually wrote a letter to the principal, saying that this is really been harmful to my son's development. Da da da. Kind of wrote that and said that he's not going to be using a laptop. All his homework needs to be printed out. And for a teacher, I can imagine this is it's you want to be able to help each kid, but you also don't want to have to do anything differently for one kid versus the balance. But interestingly enough, these teachers have been abiding by that, and he literally has to come in and do written work every single night. Now, what's interesting for me is that, like, as much as I understand the approach from the parent to really pull back and really draw a hard line, the reality is the internet having access is what it is. And what I try to do is similar to what I think you go to is we got to like really educate our kids in the fact that it exists, but they need to be able to work through it responsibly, right? Like that's really important. Like I'm thinking about Shadi, for example, my daughter, my eldest daughter, she's 11, so you can imagine all the stuff going in, and she's super curious, and the first place she goes to is either Google or YouTube. And
Hmm.
there's been multiple times that I've caught her doing things that are a little too much or too fast because she's just been curious. And that could have easily been a moment where you would have scolded, right? But it's like that's a teachable moment. So think about it from a parent perspective. Like it's super uncomfortable to be having this conversation at 9, 10 years old,
Right,
right?
right,
But
right.
we got to talk about it,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Did you have any issues with like with Wired Tray on like accessing things either on YouTube or other things that were like a little inappropriate, and how you dealt with that? Or
Yeah, actually it was interesting. It is interesting. We have decided that YouTube is not something that that we don't want them accessing YouTube.
Mm,
They have their own tablets. Um, they actually have um filters on their tablets that keep them from being able to access YouTube specifically. They do have access to YouTube Kids.
mhm,
And we know that there are, in fact, we've come across it. There are different posts on YouTube Kids that are not actually appropriate. Like they get mixed in there. They have figured out a way to like put a cartoon video at the front of it, and it's like so. There's a lot of bad actors out there that's like doing all kinds of things, but I limit the amount of time they can spend on
mm,
those on their tablets, number one, and on YouTube Kids specifically, number two.
mm,
Um, they also can't search. They don't have access to a search function
mm,
on their tablets. Um,
okay.
Trey has so the school gave Wyatt an iPad during COVID, so he has an iPad. Um, and that's how they were able to do the little meetings that they did where they just sang
Yeah.
songs and stuff like that. And Trey has an Android, a Samsung tablet. The great thing about the Samsung tablet is it actually has a parental app that I have. It's called Family. So it's Family Link. Family Link links to all Android devices that you
Mm,
put on the list. And anytime he needs to use a website, so if it's something for class, I have to okay that website before he can actually use it. Um, it slows things down a little bit, obviously, hopefully they're not throwing a whole lot of new websites in the middle of the year. So
right.
once we get through the main ones that he needs access to at the beginning of the year, he can go back and access them. But he can't search anything else. Um, Now, does that mean that I have it 100% locked down? Nope. That they have he has in fact, I know, has found ways around
Mhm.
it already.
Yeah.
These kids are smart, very
Yep.
smart. The fact that he has found a way to listen to music on his tablet that honestly, when I
Mhm.
heard it, some of the music,
Mhm.
I'm like, yo, how does he know
Mhm.
who the hell a Taka I'm even curse on this podcast, who a Takashi 69 is, or who like all these like people
Yeah.
who I had no idea he had access to information about them.
Right.
He's found a way to listen to their music. And part of that actually came through YouTube Kids
Yeah.
because YouTube Kids actually has a music function on it.
Yeah.
Um, so that was interesting. Um, but we just we work within the confines of what I know to do right now for
Yeah.
the devices. I'm sure there's one also for
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 Apple.
app for
Yeah. What's interesting is I have and I'm probably saying it wrong, but it's uh um Kapasky or something like that. It's like a it's a it's almost like Norton.
oh yeah.
Um,
You
like
still
it's
okay, first off, I'm gonna say this. You should not use Kaspersky.
oh, I shouldn't use that. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I was like,
We
see, I
we can talk about that. But yes, that's like virus scan program that I think they probably have some additional components to it. But
yeah.
I actually stopped using them several years ago because it turns out that if I'm not mistaken, I could be, this might be not 100% accurate information right now, but they were somehow linked to Russian.
Mm,
Uh, so, uh,
so
talk about
okay.
Big Brother.
It's
Your
okay.
information, sir.
Yeah, see, look at that. Boom. Try my best. Try my best. I try my best. I try my best. Oh my goodness. Try my best. So I have a question. The question is kind of going back to security and electronics, like, so Sade's 11. She's starting, we've spoken about really limiting her access as much as we can and
Hmm.
trying to control the narrative to the best of our ability. But now that she's like starting to be in activities, like my son has different activities, they're all over the place. We have to rely on her being independent, and
Yeah.
the first connection we have, right, is the electronic, right, which whether it's a phone or some sort of device, an iWatch or something, right? So
Hmm.
we're at a really tough stage where a decision needs to be made because there's like a good hour between where she could easily get lost and not necessarily have access or borrow somebody's phone. And now it's the question is like, when's the right time to give your kid the phone? And, if you do give them that phone, that obviously opens up a lot of access to a lot of things. And how do you limit their access and make sure that, they don't do too much? So our suggestion was for us to start by giving her a phone, I mean a
The
watch,
watch.
right?
Yeah.
A
Hmm.
limit, right? And
Hmm.
then see how she does in terms of being responsible and then ultimately graduate to a phone.
You know what? I think I've been hearing that a lot because you can have the watch be used as it is a phone.
Yeah.
It is an opportunity for you to be able to make phone calls if they need to reach you or whatever. They can do that, but they also don't. There's no internet on it. They can't. I
Uh,
don't think they can surf the web on it. I could be wrong,
well, you can have that available, but obviously
right? But
we
it
would.
doesn't
I
have to
mean,
be
yeah,
right. Right. And
yeah,
so that part of it, I think, is useful because the kids, I joke with my kids, is like, as long as you go to school where I work, you don't need a phone. Right. Like, because you with
yeah,
me, you know what I'm saying? I
yeah,
pick you up,
yep,
I drop you off at school, I'm
yep.
down the hall, you scrape your knee, you come to my office. Like, the nurse don't even have to call me. She just come get me out of my office or
You already
to a
know.
meeting. Like literally, I told a nurse the other day, I was like, you might as well just get my number, take my number down, and text me wherever I'm in the building if
Wow.
something go wrong with my kids, because
Yeah.
I'll prefer that than have you have to walk to find me, right? So, and I was like, so as long as you guys are with me, you don't need a phone,
Right.
but um, my son did wrestling this winter, so Trey did wrestling this winter, and sometimes I did leave wrestling practice. Now this is interesting, right? Because of sports, he wouldn't actually be wearing his watch
Right.
during wrestling.
Right.
So where would it be? Best case scenario, in his bag,
Right.
right? Um, Worst case scenario, he forgot it altogether at home.
Right.
So if I go out, lead a practice and go down the street to go, to the store to grab something, or I'm sitting out in the, I lead a practice and he gets hurt,
Yep.
then he just need to know my number.
Right.
Somebody will have a phone in.
Right.
But I think that there is, I don't want to believe that 9 and 10 is the time to start thinking about phones, but I do believe that they do need to have some kind of communication device for us, to be able to keep track of them, if we're not going to be together all the time.
And what I would say to that too is, and it's one of those things that happen unfortunately for us, but um it was also a good test, and we're glad it worked out. I
Mhm.
think what also happens is because of kind of the age that we're in, and the electronics, the access that some parents would provide to their kids much earlier, the idea of like just memorizing numbers,
Yeah,
like, like, I mean, I'm even thinking about, I mean, how long we've known each other, like, I don't know what your number
I
is,
don't know
right?
your
As
number either.
as crazy as
That's
that
funny.
sounds, but before with our kids, I mean, almost like writing their names out, it was having them literally memorize our phone number, right?
Yeah,
And this really happened actually a few years ago. We went to a theme park. You can imagine, like, everybody was together. Wally got lost, and he immediately, once he figured out that he was lost, it literally was like one of those stop, drop, and roll like episodes. He stopped, looked for the nearest adult, preferably a parent with a child. Specifically, this is what
great,
he's looking for. Ended
smart
up
boy.
finding a mom, got her number, I mean, got her phone, called us, obviously in a panic, but literally, like, called my wife's number, called my number, right, simultaneously, and was like, "Hey, I'm lost, and this is where I am." But all I kept thinking about was, man, like, think about it, how things are now. Again, I've known you for 20 plus years. Like, I don't know your number, but in a case for, at that point, he was probably 7 or 8, getting lost in a theme park, and then being able to memorize that number was also
Yeah,
something I was like, man, I'm glad we really put that upon him, early. You know?
yeah. And we didn't, but we have now. Both of the boys know our numbers by heart. Trey more so than Wyatt. I think
Yeah.
Wyatt still mix up some numbers, but yeah, I mean that's something that we hadn't actually,
Yeah.
it wasn't on the radar at first, and then we thought about it one day. It was like, man, they old enough now to learn our
Yeah.
numbers. They should know them.
Yeah.
Um, and again, even though I'm there,
Yeah.
and most of the time, they
Yeah.
should in fact know our numbers. So yeah, man, those are like the little things that people
Yeah.
don't think about.
Yeah.
Um, I worry, honestly, what I get it. Phones are a necessary evil, and everybody has them. And my son tells me all the time, everybody has a phone, blah blah blah. But honestly, like, I don't feel like there's any real benefit for him to have a phone other than to have access to
Yeah.
additional things that he doesn't need to have access to.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm in the minority of people who feel like my preteen doesn't need to have access to, what I'm saying, TikTok and Instagram, and the fact that knows how to take a picture on a phone blows my mind. Right? Not because he's not a smart kid, but
Yeah.
because, like, he knew how to do those things before he could even read.
Right.
Like, you know
Right.
what I'm saying? And so it's those that kind of idea of them being able to like work these devices without even knowing what kind of power these devices hold
Right.
was all has always been very scary to me.
Yeah.
Like I don't even I mean, honestly, Twitter gone.
Yeah.
TikTok gone. And I never really use it anyway,
Yeah.
but I just downloaded it cuz I wanted to see what it was about. But if I'm doing that,
Right.
then what are they trying to see? You know, what so and so is about. What
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Snapchat,
Yeah.
whatever, like
Yeah.
all those kind of things. I don't know. I mean, eh, I just don't want them having access to that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking for in our case, again, Sade's my oldest is really the only one we're really having a conversation about this with. If not because of just the schedule differences,
Hmm,
I
hmm.
would hold off until she absolutely needed it. Just because I know how she is with quote unquote the limited access she has right now. I cannot imagine
Yeah,
her having a little bit more. So yeah, I mean, I say that I say wait for as long as you possibly can to be able to provide that access, because once you do that, it broadens that scope even wider. And for me, it's like again, I realize that we can't protect our children 100%. That's just us being naive. And you want to be able to like at least build a foundation where they're strong enough to be able to resist those temptations. But that takes a while, and it's different for different kids. Like some kids just get it. Like my son, he gets it, you know what I mean, because his focus is just on something else.
right.
And in the case of my daughter, like she's just immune to that. And you gotta know your kids. I know with her, I just have to be extra careful. I have to, and right or wrong, her being a girl is even I'm more intentional because of like the images that she has to go through, and because I'm already seeing it. I'm already seeing that with her and the way she reacts. Like, naturally for her, her love language is words of affirmation straight
Mhm.
off the gate. That's how she is. And that can be a dangerous thing in the wrong hands, right? I had to tell her, I remember recently, that not all attention is good attention.
Right.
Like having her understand that. She has to understand that, like, again, going back to even the security thing, it's like if you can't take pictures on your tablet and then send it off to people.
Right.
That's not acceptable, because like we know what that could translate to. Once you put it out there, it's forever. That's the other thing I keep telling her, is that whatever you put, chat or images, on the internet, once you press that send button, or maybe not even, it's there forever,
Forever.
and you can never get it back. But that's the reality. You got to let them know, like, it's that once it gets in that black hole, it's like anybody and everybody can access it, and it's real.
Yeah. So T, let me talk to you about this. Let me ask you this question. How do we handle situations like that, conversations like that, when you have parents, aunts, uncles, what I'm saying, friends who are are doing the opposite, right? Like they
Yep.
posting everything,
Yep.
right? You know what I'm saying? The
Yep.
kids look at um other people that they see or people
Yep.
who they idolize online
Yep.
who are seemingly posting everything.
Yep.
Like how do you talk a kid down from that reality when that's what they see?
Well, for us, and my wife, the good thing is that, like, my wife and I are on the same page. I could see how, if the dynamic was different, meaning that if she was that way in terms of
Hmm.
posting and putting everything, and I wasn't, I can understand how much of a friction that could be. Luckily for us, that's not the case. And we are the group, or the family, that all our friends know that no, we don't do that, especially when it comes to our kids. We try to limit their exposure. If we're out there in parties and we posting, we're the family that people are like, is it okay? Like, that's, like, because we don't want our information, our kids out there like that. And for our kids, they know that honestly, I don't really care what anybody else is doing. I don't. And what I'm doing here is to be able to protect us to the best of my ability, and that's not something I'm comfortable doing. So my kids already know what it is
Hmm.
from jump. Like it's not happening. It's dangerous, and we limit it as much as possible. Again, like it's gonna happen. We're in parties, we all take pictures. It happens, but like I think people now, because we've kind of like really pushed that agenda from the very beginning, is they know that we're really sensitive to that, and luckily for us, they respect that. So yeah, it's been pretty good. Knock on wood.
Good, good.
How's it been for you guys?
I mean, yeah, I've never posted any pictures of your kids. Uh, but I tell you, we got one parent. I I love my wife. Okay. Um, and it's not bad. It's like, but it's interesting because and she doesn't have a lot of social media. It really is just Facebook, right?
Yeah,
Like she doesn't do any of the other social media. I mean, honestly, I do more social media than she does because of the podcast,
because
right?
of the podcast,
Which
right?
is hilarious. And I don't. I mean, honestly, promoting this podcast is about the level of like as high as it goes for me on and ain't nobody, I got 3 people listening to the podcast.
Right.
So hello listeners, all 3 of you. But it but
We
but it
love y'all. We
yeah,
love y'all.
we do absolutely. Yo, you are the greatest. Um and so yeah, so we don't do a lot of that either. But it is also on multiple platforms. But Facebook, I mean,
Hmm.
like that might as well be
Hmm.
her,
Yeah.
that's her yearbook. That's like
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's go all out on there. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yo,
Yeah.
they don't need to see everything. And
Yeah.
that but my Facebook is so locked down
Yeah.
that I have to okay any post that has my name attached to it before it goes on my Facebook page.
Hey.
So and that's purposeful because my mother used to like send me stuff that she ain't even realized was from some like right wing,
Yeah.
conservative, like
Yeah.
skinhead
Yeah.
group. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why is you
Yeah.
sending this over to me?
Yeah. It's just like I don't
Um,
know.
and she was tagging me in it and it was showing on my page. I was like, yo, this is not I can't do this. So yeah, so but anyway, the long and short of it is that, you know, we actually had a situation
Mm,
because my son had gotten hold of my wife's phone and had started his own YouTube page. Okay.
okay. Okay.
And um my wife was okay with it. Not
So
knowing
so actually publishing the
published page. Okay. So
oh
not knowing a whole lot about it, I guess.
yeah.
This is where the rubber met the road, right? Is one parent from my kid's school said to me, I saw the video that your son posted because he
Yeah.
showed his friends about it.
Yeah.
He told them what
Yeah.
his username was on
Yep.
there.
Yep. Yep.
They went home and told their parents. And it was him singing some stupid song.
Hmm.
Um, and the parent said it to me, and I am standing there looking stupid because I didn't know that it existed.
Right. Right.
Not only did I not know the song on existed, but I ain't know the page existed.
Right.
Okay. So I went off.
Yeah.
Came home, it was a thing. Okay. For real. Like, cause I'm just like, this is inappropriate. This is
Right.
ridiculous.
Right.
Like, why is this okay to
Right.
happen without both of us knowing about it? I look foolish.
Right.
I'm hearing about this from another parent.
Right.
We are not doing this.
Right.
He was not old enough to start that page on his own. He should not have that page.
Right.
But the boy had over 1,000 views on the video.
Wow, that's pretty good. I'm just saying
He
that's
might have
pretty
made
good.
some money on it. You know
He
what
might
I'm
have
saying?
made some money. He might have made
So,
some money. Wow.
but I'm like, yo, this is no. It's like,
Yeah.
nope, we're not doing this. nipped it in the
Wow.
bud right there. But the fact that it even started down that road was I was pissed.
Yeah.
I was pissed. Um, because I felt like it shouldn't have happened that way, and we shouldn't have been allowing him. And there wasn't a conversation that we had
Yeah.
prior to that.
Yeah, I think it's easy to see the innocence in it. Like even like, my son, like he was asking like, "Oh, I want to start a YouTube channel." And like, even if I think and he'd been asking consistently for a while because he has these ideas that he
Hmm.
wants to be able to
Hmm.
explore. And I'm like, "Okay, it's like if we're going to do it, let's do it together." So literally we got on, he did his little video, and that was it. It's not getting posted. It's dormant and whatever it is. And my challenge to him was like, if you can do 10 to 12 consistently, then we'll talk about it, right? And right now we're at 2. So we'll see what happens. But like things like that,
That's
it's
right.
like
There you go.
the reality is that like, but he knows, and that's what I'm saying. It's like we've been talking about this for so long. He comes up to me, he's like, "This is what I want to do," and I'm like, "Well, you know how I feel about this," and he gets it. So he's like, "I know how you feel about it, so let me kind of give you little baby steps." And so again, if you 10 to 12, I want to see some consistency here, and then we get to see your context. And like, there's editing involved, like, let's just go down the rabbit hole. And honestly, I wanted to really focus on the creativity part of things, obviously, versus like him actually publishing and feeling like he needs to show his friends. And
Right.
that's how we ended up spinning it. So even though we only have like 2 videos out, but with editing, it could take forever. So we ended up spending hours just editing one video, and then once he got exhausted of that, we moved on to the next. But it's again, it's like you can't shield them away from it. It's trying to like get it and then try to figure out how you can use that as a teachable moment. Like
Right.
for me, again, going back to like that security part, I'm thinking about Sade because he's like at that age where that's all she thinks about. The idea of like even posting, when you're going on and you're posting, and I told her, I was like, listen, you got to understand that if people are watching you, watching your feeds, watching your Snapchats or whatever it is, they can see where you are. Like,
Right.
like I remember like my wife was talking about seeing a friend that she hasn't seen in 20 some years and feeling like she just saw yesterday because she posts everything.
Oh,
She's
everything.
like, she saw a kid and she was about to name, like, call her kid out by name because everything. She's like, "Oh,
Everything
you just
posted.
had a birthday party." I'm like, "Oh, how was the birthday? It was amazing. I can't believe you got like a dolphin or whatever,
Right.
a
Right. Right.
horse." It was like,
Right.
so you get so exposed to it. It's just so scary.
Yeah, I mean, that we are guilty of that, and so okay. I wish I had a disclaimer on here, but I'm gonna put it out there for everybody. Disclaimer: there's no right way to do this.
No,
Okay,
yeah,
but Tunde makes
exactly.
me feel like a bad parent, so I got
Why you make it? Oh, please. I'm
because
just saying.
the truth of the matter is that we don't post in the moment. We do post after we return, and again, I say we. That's the royal we. It ain't me. But it's what I'm saying. We post after we return from these from vacations, from
Yeah,
trips, doing things,
yeah.
whatever. Like we're not like live tweeting or
It's
live
fine. It's fine. I
Instagram
saw your
lives,
trip to
whatever.
Mexico. I was like,
You
"Oh,
know,
kids had a good
hey,
time in the
but
water
that's
and
but
all."
that was all after the fact, right?
Yeah,
So we
yeah,
weren't in Mexico anymore. You know what I'm saying? We were
you're in the
back in the security
confines
of
of
our own home, and that is
right.
purposeful. On that piece of it, honestly, in all honesty, I'll be completely honest with you. I don't ever feel comfortable posting stuff like that because that is the reality that we have to try to teach our kids is that what people are posting are those really good moments in their lives
Yeah, exactly.
online. So it looked like everybody is
Right.
taking these vacations. It looked like
Exactly.
everybody's having all this fun and like it don't you don't see that the bank account ain't got no money in it now. You don't see that, so and so got food poisoning because ain't no
Yep.
picture of the food poisoning. Ain't no,
That's not good content. That's not good
right,
content.
exactly. And so all you see is these very happy lives of people when in actuality, that's not reality.
Yeah.
And that goes for all of social media, really. Like it goes for anything that you find posted online, right? right down to the airbrushed person that or they skin lightened in the on the cover of a magazine, right? Like none of that stuff is 100% accurate. That doesn't mean that there's not some truth in it, but what it does mean is that we have to be knowledgeable enough and think enough about what we are in fact viewing through the lens of it being a snapshot of a moment in time. And that goes for, when my kids, when Wale, when Trey decide that they want to be YouTubers,
Yep.
and what they don't see is that those idiots, those videos are edited.
Yeah.
Somebody has sat down and spent hours editing those videos, and at the time that they watching these videos, these people who are very polished in the work that they're doing probably have several people working
Yep.
on their videos doing
Yep.
all kinds of things. Now, you know my site, just me. You know what I'm saying? I don't got no fancy nothing. And so my editing is done by me when I get a chance to do it. but that's the reality of it. And they don't see that part of it. All they
Yeah.
see is these very polished things that they want to be. They want to do that because
Yep.
these people are doing it. So
Yep.
yeah, I mean, you know, I it, it's that's really the hard part about the internet is that it there's so much truth to be learned, but there's also so much fakeness there as well.
Yeah.
And how do you direct the kids towards what's real and not what's fake?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm thinking about the last thing you said, and like, I think the thing that probably resonates with me the most is that there's no right way, no right or wrong way to do this. I think ultimately, like most things, we're all just trying to figure it out. This is just one of those things that you just have to try to be as diligent as possible, right? Whatever that means to you, you just got to be diligent, and you can't sleep on it because if you the moment you let that go, in terms of like trying to be on top of it against whatever that means for you and yours, is that's when like that's going to take control, right? And the internet is going to control the narrative. It's going to control how your kids see themselves. Like it's real, like it's real, right? So we can't rely on ignorance on this one. It's just you got to stay on top of it. So yeah, I mean,
And I'm going to throw something else in there. And I know we are probably in a place where, because our kids are limited in terms of their access, this doesn't necessarily it does apply to them, but not necessarily as much as some other people.
yeah,
Is the algorithms that exist to feed information,
right,
right? And how those things work. They work based off of age, location, how long you watch a video.
right,
So if you watching a cooking video, somebody
yeah,
cooking, and you make it all the way through that cooking video,
right.
then
That's relief.
you
Yeah.
will see more cooking videos, right?
Cooking
Um,
videos and cooking ads.
right,
Right.
exactly. You know what I'm saying? That's what you're gonna get fed. So if you're watching somebody do their makeup
Yep.
a lot, then you watch a video all the way through on Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts or whatever,
Yeah.
then the next thing you know, you're getting all of these makeup tutorials.
Yep.
And maybe you're getting fed makeup tutorials by people who you don't want to do makeup
Yeah.
tutorials
Yeah.
for. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Or
Yep.
by people who are in fact trying to, you know,
Yep.
have groom kids or whatever, like all those kind of things. Like this stuff is crazy, but it's
Yeah.
it's very, very real, right? Like it's out there, it's happening.
Yep.
And same thing with like these little videos where the kids are, where people are drawing cartoon characters or whatever. Like that's the scariest part, is that
Yeah.
you don't have any control over how these algorithms work and how they are feeding information to the kids.
Yeah.
or to the adults for that matter. I mean, honestly, I have watched a video of what I thought was something just was funny related to men and women, and the next thing I know, I done got every video of some dude talking about how women are, taking
Yeah.
away our,
Yeah.
blah blah. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, I
Yeah.
don't necessarily believe that, but
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
that first video was funny. What? This ain't funny. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like, it gets out of hand like that. So, but
I mean, again, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's one of those things where it's a dark hole, and to think you can get to the bottom of it is just not it's not realistic. And it's got to be a healthy balance. Think trying to get rid of it completely is, in my opinion, not necessarily the right way. But also just trying to stay on top of it, to the best we can, whether it's through apps, whether it's through conversations. Either way, it's not something that I think you want to let your kids go out there without at least equipping them with something, to be able to protect them from all the madness that's out there. So,
so let me ask you this, because we can just shift gears just a little bit to video games.
mm,
Our kids have played video games together
mhm,
online.
mhm.
How do you guys handle the online video game piece?
I mean, a lot of times, I'll say most of the times, who they play with is kids they know, right? So it's typically like people that they know either from school. So it's usually a very selective like group of kids that just play with themselves all the time. But
Mhm.
naturally, like they get exposure to other people. And what I remember I said to my son that he didn't even realize, and I think once I said that was a big unlock for him, is realize that like the person on the other line might not be the person that you think. The
Right.
same way that you got access to the email address and saying you're 18, the other person on the other side could be a 50-year-old man looking just to be able, not necessarily to play games, but to be able to get as much information as possible from you. So
Right.
I think for him, naturally, and this is what it's like, you feel like you have to strip them of their innocence. But I think once I said that to both my kids, like,
Mhm.
be careful if somebody's like playing and it's like, oh, how you doing? Like, where do you live and what do you look like? And like, or if somebody's avatar is a female, that doesn't necessarily mean the person is a female. Like, like just let them know that this is reality. I think just makes them a little more cautious. And we let them know not to accept any person that they don't know and have seen, directly. So I mean, but again, their kids are gonna do what they want to do. But I have put out that disclaimer in there, and they've definitely been grounded for not abiding by that. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the way we rock.
Yeah, and that's in line with what we try to do as well. I mean, it was interesting because again, that we in person teach our kids to be cordial to people, to say hi, to whatever, and then you get on these games, right? And someone says, "Hi, my name is da da da," da," and they can do all kinds of things, voice changers, whatnot, and
Mhm,
they're like, I'm 10 and I'm from so and so, and
mhm.
where are you from? And I've told my son, don't you never tell anybody where you're from. Never,
Yep, because you
never
never
tell
know.
anybody where you're from.
You never know.
Right.
You know.
So it's very interesting in that way. Like I know some parents don't let their kids play games online at all. Um, I I didn't want to let the kids play games online at all. I was stripped of that ability to stop that because it happened when I wasn't prepared for it to happen. Uh,
Huh.
next thing, because I didn't want him playing Fortnite, but now he's playing Fortnite, right?
Oh yeah, he's playing Fortnite, and
Um,
so is my son. He's playing Fortnite. That was another thing that I felt like we kept pushing it as much as we could, but it's the beast,
and
the
they,
beast.
and the way that the problem is that the game is free,
Yeah,
right? There's no barrier to entry,
yeah.
but there is sure a lot of money being spent on this free game. You know what I'm saying? Like
That's
stuff
how they
like
get
that.
you. That's how
Yeah,
they get you.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
crazy,
yeah,
crazy.
that's how they get you. I mean, if you know the idea that if he could, I mean, he would spend over 200, $300 on whatever coins, gold
Skins.
bucks, skins, avatar. I mean, he will do it without a blink of an eye.
I've
That
actually
is crazy to me.
I asked my son, I said, how many skins you got? He's like, I got like 200 skins. I was like, do you know how many days there are in a year? Like, kid, you wearing these skins for like half a day. Like,
Yeah, no. See, like, and then what I've learned, it's like, man, you can't rationalize with these kids,
I
man.
know,
Like, it makes complete sense to me. Why would you want to just waste your money for something that you are going to get bored because there's going to be another shiny object that
right?
comes every Friday at 6 p.m. Because I get reminded of that every Friday at 6 p.m.
I
Like,
did not
I'm like,
realize that. Is that
oh
right?
my god, every Friday there's a
I did
new
not
every
know that.
Friday. He's looking. I'm like, no, we
Oh
can't.
man,
So yeah, and then every Friday at 6 o'clock, he's come. My son's coming to me saying, "Oh, Dad, can you believe? Oh, this time this one actually
that is hilarious.
spits balloons. Last week it was spit umbrellas. Can you imagine? Oh, I
I
got to
did,
get this one back.
I
Everybody's
did
got to
not realize that. Okay, I had no idea. Wow, wow, that
Friday at
makes me
six.
okay. Every Friday, huh?
Yeah,
That's funny.
but
I
that's smart
mean,
business, man. I'm happy for him. Just
yeah.
not happy to be on the consuming end of things. So it
Yo,
is.
my kids are doing they have like their little businesses, right?
Yeah.
And they really wasting their money from their businesses. I mean, we don't let them keep a lot of it, but what little they allowed to keep, I'm like, yo, y'all really wasting your money. Like you could be
It is
buying
what it
something that you could enjoy
is. Like some,
forever.
some value, exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
Like
that's for
that
another podcast.
right, that skin ain't going, I mean,
How to manage money. Like
like, oh
that's for
you
another podcast.
right. It's like, oh, you got the what's his name, Mr. Beast skin. Oh, now what does that one do?
I mean,
Nothing.
Mr.
It don't do
Beast.
nothing. Oh, so you just gave Mr. Beast some more money, huh?
Oh,
Great.
Mr. Beast is that I mean, that's the smartest strategy ever. He gives out money and makes more money.
It makes
Like
me laugh.
the money he gives out, think about it. Like, think about like in this video, I'm gonna give $500,000 and who can do it in 2 seconds. But the amount of views he gets triples the amount of money he gives
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Amazing.
And
So
so
smart.
that's why they want to be YouTubers.
So smart.
They don't even know how much he make.
So they don't
They,
care. So smart. So smart.
I mean,
I
stuff like
love it.
that is just it boggles my mind, man.
I
I
love it.
just
I mean,
I
that's an occupation. I'm a YouTuber. That
yeah,
is,
it is a
you put
job, man.
that, you could write that out
I
and
don't
be
know what you
proud.
do once you not making money on YouTube anymore. What do you do? What kind of job you do after that?
I mean, I don't know. That's the best type of residual income. I mean, that money just keeps going. So if it goes viral, people keep going back, talk about it. It was viral, and the higher it goes, the higher it
Yeah.
goes. I mean, I know for 1 million views on YouTube, that's $5,000 for 1 million views.
Yeah.
So and Mr. Beast, 13, 18, 30,000
30
views.
million views.
30 million? Yeah,
Yeah.
30 million
Yeah.
views? Yeah, bro. So, hey,
Don't
nah,
undersell him. That man
my my bad. I mean, hey, but so no, I'm not mad at him.
is
I'm not mad at him.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's there's a lot, there's no easy way to deal with it. But I think that it's important. What is important is that parents keep their ear
Yep.
to the streets. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Or to the internet. Like try to learn as much as you can, whether sometimes it may be from other parents.
Yep.
What sites are your kids using? What do you hear them talking about? Sometimes it's from the kids. Just ask them.
Mhm.
And that's important to note because we need to be aware of who's watching our kids if
Yep.
we're not,
Yep.
right? And Tunde said early on, Big Brother is he giving Big Brother all your information, but honestly, they already got it. Uh,
I want to give it out willingly. That's all I keep saying.
I mean, we know TikTok. Hearing from the CEO of TikTok that TikTok in China is already different than TikTok in America,
Yeah.
and boggled my mind. It's like, oh, it's TikTok is limited to 45 minutes in China. Ain't no limit in America.
Oh well, you know,
We
Americans,
in
we
America,
overindulge ourselves. That's
yeah,
just
in
what it is.
America, you can watch all the TikTok you want. I had kids tell me, not my kids, but I had other kids tell me they were addicted to TikTok.
Yeah, I
Like,
believe it. I
so,
believe it. I
you
believe
know,
it.
so yeah, parents, it just we can't overlook the fact that whatever we decide to do with our kids or allow them to do in terms of technology, that we have to put some guide rails in place. We have to know what's happening. We have to be in the know, spend some time, learn about it. I suggest, personal suggestion right now is figure out your Wi-Fi router.
Mm.
Figure out how to turn that joint off. Um, Figure out how to limit specific websites through your router. That way, if they are on the internet in the house, at least you can limit, you know, pornographic sites or whatever it is through that piece. Um, Figure out how to, as I was telling Tunde offline, figure out how to put the time limits on. I know my niece and nephew not gonna be happy about this. Put a time limit on the Nintendo Switch.
Oh,
You know what I'm
well,
saying? On the
we got it
PlayStation.
on there. Yeah.
On the whatever. Like the features are there. You can do it. And it was tough for my son at first because we put a time limit on there and he would come back and ask for more time. And I'm like, dude, time up. It'll cut off literally in the middle of the game while you playing.
It's like
Oh,
that.
the countdown come up on the corner of the screen. You know how much time you got left. You better tell your friends goodbye. This joint is shutting off.
You know what we do? Because the problem is that our kids they get tempted. Literally before they go to sleep and it's shut time's up, they literally have to bring their devices into our room. Like it's like a
See,
lockbox.
telling you, T,
Because they get
you don't have to
tempted.
do that. You don't have the app. Let me tell you what the name of the app is, son.
Oh,
It is called, like I said, my niece and nephew gonna hate me, but
oh, no, I wouldn't tell them you told me. I'll
it's
be the
it's the official Nintendo app too, and
oh,
it's called
oh,
Switch Parent or Switch Parenting or whatever. Um, and literally you can set. It says Nintendo Switch Parental Control. That's the name of the app. And literally, you can set when the device will work, when it won't work, how much time they have to play.
mm.
I can see how much time they spent playing on any given day. And so I know how much time they've been on a device. And they don't even have access to it during the week at all. So
What
it
is it
just
called again?
sits. It's called Nintendo Switch Parental Control.
Okay.
Parental controls. Nintendo Switch parental controls.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely got to have just a list.
So there you go. He been on Fortnite for 2.5 hours today. That's it. That's all he been playing.
Wow.
Oh no, he also played a little bit of Pokemon. So look, you can see it right there.
Yeah,
Pokemon. And
Pokemon.
so that's why I can tell exactly what he did today. Um and once that time limit is hit, whatever you set it to be, done, son. I can see what he downloaded. If he downloaded anything, if I let him download stuff,
Oh, until but only through the Switch device though. Through
only
the
through the
Switch.
Switch device.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta come up with other programs for that other
Yeah.
thing.
Sheesh.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Man.
yeah. So well, that is enough of all of that information. I hope everybody got something to take away from this conversation. Tunde, thank you again, man, as always, for being here. Another conversation here on Daddy Confessions. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
Of
For
course.
everybody listening and watching, because we do video now. We back on the YouTube page. Our YouTube page is up and running. So
Video, you don't give us makeup, no makeup. I need makeup,
hey,
bro. I wasn't ready
keep it
for this.
raw. We keep it raw. We keep it raw. You know what I'm saying? And thank you guys for listening and watching and being a part of the Daddy Confessions family. You can email me at thedaddyconfessions@gmail.com. You can catch us on Instagram and on YouTube, and at all your favorite podcast apps. You know what I'm saying? You can listen anywhere. Thank you again for listening. Peace.